You guys doing? Eugene Johnson, founder of Make Your Mind an Asset. And today's episode, we're going to talk about before you die, jump. Ticks. Time moves by. You're 6 years old. You're only in the first grade, but everything is fun and amazing and everything is new and exciting. The clock ticks. Time moves by. All of a sudden, you're 30 years old and you're realizing time is starting to speed up. The clock ticks. Time moves by. Now you're 50, wondering where the heck has life gone? The clock ticks. Time moves by. Now you're 80. The clock ticks. Time moves by. Now you're 90. You've lived almost a century and you're wondering, how did you let opportunity pass you by? Wealth, love, relationships, happiness. How did you let all of these things slip? Because the clock is ticking and time is moving by. Before you die, you must jump. Before you die, you have to jump. Before you die, please jump. Here's what I mean by that. This gentleman that goes by the name of Miles Monroe. A lot of people have quoted this a million different times, so I'm not going to try to beat a dead horse. But what he says is that the wealthiest place on the planet is the graveyard, because so many people die with their dreams still inside of them. So many people go to their deathbed wondering, why didn't they take advantage of the time that they had? Why did they let time slip by? Why did they let fear stop them from moving forward? Why did they let the opinions of other people squash out their dreams? Why did they let what they read on Facebook and social media determine what moves they made? Why did they let the media tell them that everything is frightening and the world was going to end? Why did they allow the outside voices to stop them from living the thing that they felt like they were called to live? Here's how most people want to die. They want to be laying in a hospital room, all of their family gathered around, everyone saying loving words to them and telling them how much that person meant to them. And everybody's giving them hugs and kisses and giving them farewells and praying them to the other side. And then that person that's laying in the bed is looking up and saying, man, this is what I've done. This is the impact that I've made. This is the person that I've become. I didn't just come here and die. I came here with a purpose and I came here to make an impact. And I was able to do that. And that's what most people's perfect idea of what passing away looks like. But the problem is most people don't pass away like that. Here's the reality of that situation. That person is laying in the bed. Their cousin would have been there, but they got in a fight with their cousin 15 years ago and they never resolved it. That brother-in-law would have been there, but they started a business, they quit too early, it didn't work out, and they ended up separating and going in different ways. That person's wife or husband should be there, but they let the problems of the world push them away from happiness. And that same person is laying in a bed with the few close people that they have left to them. And they're looking up and saying, how did I get here? There's so many things that I wasn't able to accomplish. There's so many people that I wasn't able to give that love to. There's a legacy that I never got a chance to leave. And people die with the regrets and the gifts and the passions that were never released to the world. And so this is why I say, before you die, you gotta jump. Is jumping scary? Of course it is. Do you know what's gonna happen? No, you don't. But you jump anyway. A book that I love is Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Because you don't know what's going to happen. Well, what I do know is that it always works out. And I want you to listen real close to the story. I remember in September of 2006, I went to a convention in Las Vegas. I was introduced to a couple people who had been exploding the business that I was in California. And they told me about all of the opportunities that were out there in California. They told me about the incredible environment that was created, all of the pieces that were being laid out in California. And they said, you know what, Eugene, with your skills, with your passion, with your ability, and what you've been able to do so far, you would come out to California and kill it. You would have incredible success. And when they were saying this, all I could be thinking was, are you crazy? I'm not moving to California. I live in New York City. I am not leaving New York City. I'm in school. I got things that are going well for me out here. I have all my family in New York. Why would I leave New York and go to California? And then as I got on the plane on my way back home, I started to think, why not? Why not? Why not put myself in a position? Yes, would I be leaving the comfort of my own home? Absolutely. Would I be leaving the familiarity of what I already knew? Would I be jumping into something that I didn't really understand, or with people that I didn't even know? Like, why would I do something crazy like that? But as I was flying on the plane, I was thinking, why not? Why not you? Why not now? Why not jump? And so I remember getting back to New York and starting to think about it, and I started the process, and my wheels are starting to turn, and I started to think, maybe I should jump. You know what? I actually am going to jump. Yeah, I'm going to jump. And so I started to convince my friend, Mike. I said, Mike, yo, we got to jump. And he's like, whoa, what you talking about? But he was feeling the same thing I was feeling because they were telling us both the same thing. And so I was saying, hey, let's jump together. And so I got associated with somebody who was willing to jump too. And that's a whole nother training. But long story short, I remember being 18 years old. Think about this. September 2006, being 18 years old, telling my mother, Ma, here's what I'm going to do. I'm gonna move out your house where it's all comfortable and you cooking and you cleaning and you doing all of the amazing things that a mom does, right? I'm gonna move out of my house and I'm gonna move 3,000 miles away to California, a place that I had never been to before with people that I did not know, but I'm gonna move there. And she's thinking I was joking until about a month later, she sees a lease for an apartment in California. I remember her coming up to me and saying, you really about to move to California? And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna move. And at the time, she might not have understood it fully. And my little brother, he definitely didn't understand it fully. And my little sister, she's so young, she didn't really get what was going on. Why is her brother leaving? But I had to take a move. I had to jump because sometimes you'll never know when an opportunity will come again. And so September, I felt the call to jump. By December of 2006, I was on my way to California. Think about that. 3 months, and I decided to jump. And when I went to California, of course it was nerve-wracking. Of course I never knew anybody there. I ended up getting Mike to come with me, so we both moved out to California together. And we ended up being roommates with 2 other people who was in the business with us, Dominic and David, who didn't really know that well. But we decided to go after it anyway. And so the 4 of us get an apartment in San Leandro, California. I'm 19 years old at the time. I had just turned 19. So I'm 19 years old at the time. I'm sitting in another state, 3,000 miles away from my home. Wasn't sure what was going to happen, but I knew that it was time for me to jump. And so sometimes we get into situations and in circumstances and have opportunities in front of us where it's time for us to jump. Yet we don't. And when we don't, we live with the regret of what if. What if I didn't jump? See, me jumping, that literally, outside of accepting Christ and marrying my wife, was the best decision that I ever made in my life. Was moving to California. There's so many things that opened up for me. And me as a person, I got the chance to grow and get stretched in ways that I would have never been stretched had I been home at my mother's house, sleeping on her couch, right? Broke as heck. But still, I decided to jump. And here's what I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you before you die, jump. Because it always works out. And here's the great thing about jumping, is that when you jump, if it all goes bad, it can never go too bad. Why? Because you can always start over. If you lose money, guess what? You can get it back. Because I lost money, I was able to get it back, right? If you lose your house, guess what? You can get it back. I lost my house. I ended up being homeless, sleeping on a friend's couch. I got it back. If you lose your car, you can get it back. One of my first cars that I bought in California got repossessed. I was able to get it back, get better ones, right? You can get it back. The only thing that you don't want to do is lose your faith or lose your family. As long as you're on the journey and you're getting those things, you're keeping those things intact, everything else is replaceable. So no matter if you jump, so many people are so afraid to jump because they're afraid of what they may lose. But the question is not what you lose currently, it's what you lose in the future for not jumping. It's the things and the visions that you see for yourself, the dreams that you have for yourself that you decided not to go after because you were too afraid to jump. Because you said, if I jump, I'm holding on to this thing here. But because I'm holding on to this thing here, I can never get to these things here. There's a gentleman by the name of T.D. Jakes who talked about a guy who was in this room, and on this room, he could see his blessings on the other side. This door, this glass door, he could see his blessings on the other side. And he couldn't figure out how to get into the door, but he's carrying these bags saying, come on, I'm trying to get into the door. And God was saying, if you let the baggage go, I'll let you in. Because so many people are trying to go, but they're holding on to the things that are not serving them. And so many people are afraid to jump because they're holding on to the past. They're holding on to the bad experiences. They're holding on to the negative words that they heard from a cousin's, uncle's, best friend 5 years ago, that they weren't good enough, or that they didn't have the skills, or that they didn't possess the ability. Whatever is being said, whatever is happening in the past, so many people are holding on to it and saying, I can't let go, because if I jump, I won't make it. If I jump, I won't have success. If I jump, I'll lose everything. And people are afraid to jump. One more story about a gentleman who was climbing up Mount Everest. And he's climbing up Mount Everest, and a storm hit, and it got pitch black. And so he's hanging from a rope in Mount Everest, and then he slips and falls. And he starts tumbling down this mountain. And as he's tumbling down this mountain, his rope catches him, and he gets stuck and strung there. And so he's hanging there, and it's pitch black. He can't see anything. And he's looking up, and he's been sitting there for half an hour, 2 hours, and he's looking up and he's saying, God, am I gonna die like this? And all he can hear is the words from God saying, cut the rope. And he's like, whoa, God, what are you talking about? Cut the rope. God's like, cut the rope. He's like, God, I can't cut the rope. I can't cut the rope, because I'm going to fall and I'm going to die. And so he holds on to this rope and says, I can't cut it. I can't cut it. 2 days later, some climbers try to go up the Mount Everest, and they see this gentleman hanging from the mountain, literally 6 feet from the ground. He was afraid to cut the rope. See, so many people are holding on. They're holding on to the things that they have, not realizing that there's something better for you. There's opportunities better for you. You can live your passion. You can live your dreams. You can live without regret. You can die without regret. You can die empty, giving it your all if you decide to jump. So the question might be, so how do I jump? See, jumping is like jumping out of an airplane. It's real simple. Here's the first thing you need to know before you jump. You got to figure out what you're jumping for. What do you want? See, if you don't want to jump, no need to get in the plane, right? You got to figure out, what do you want? When you realize, I want to jump, and here's why I want to jump. Here's what I want to achieve. Here's who I want to become. Figure out what it is that you want. What are you jumping for? The second thing you need to do is clarify the rules and have a plan. Just like jumping out of a plane, they need to know how high they need to be, how far they need to go, where they need to be over the target, when to actually jump out of the plane, when to pull the cord, how to land safely. See, all of these things are clarifying the rules and figuring out a plan. See, before you jump, you need to know the same things. How do you jump safely? How do you jump without dying, right? How do you make that jump? Don't put your family at risk when you jump. Jump understanding the rules and having a plan for that jump. So many people make jumps and they say, all right, I'm just gonna jump, and they put everything at risk. See, taking risks is a good thing, but making sure you have a calculated risk is the important thing. Now, if I would have jumped and said, I'm gonna move to California, and then I just got on a plane, got to California, stood around and said, all right, what am I gonna do now? See, that's not calculated. If I did that, I didn't understand the rules of the game. Like, I need food, housing, clothes, things of that nature, a job, right? I had to understand those things. So yes, you jump, but you gotta know the rules first. Don't put your family at risk for no reason without taking the time to plan. And then the third thing is just jump now, trusting in the plan that you put in place. Just jump, because now you know exactly why you're jumping. You've clarified the rules and the plans, and now you can jump trusting in those plans. And this sounds like it shouldn't be a third step, because it's like, well, that's obvious, right? Just jump now that you've got all those things in place. But so many people decide to jump without jumping, because decide, if you take the prefix and the suffix, it's like suicide, death to self, and homicide, death to others, and pesticide, death to bugs. When you decide, it means you put death to all other options. So most people say they decided, they said they decided to jump, but they didn't really decide. But that's beyond the point. What I'm trying to say here is, so many people, they figure out what they want to do. They even created a plan and understand the rules, but they never jumped. They said, I'm going to lose all of this weight. This is my goal. I'm going to get to 150 pounds. That's what I'm going to do. And then they even got a long, detailed plan. But then they never went to the gym. They never ate the food that they were supposed to eat, right? So they decided that they were going to do it, but they never jumped. They never took action. They never jumped now with faith, trusting in the work that they put in the plan. So I'm hoping that I motivated you. I'm hoping that I inspired you to take the jump, to jump now, to decide that you're no longer going to live with regrets. You're no longer going to say tomorrow, next year, next week. Matter of fact, that's my ask for the day. My ask for the day is for you to put in the comment section, what are you procrastinating jumping on? What is it? And you don't need to tell me. It's not about telling me. It's about you putting it out to the universe and saying, you know what? I'm going to change today. I'm going to make the decision to jump today. If that's you, put the comment in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, you know I appreciate your time and attention. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, share this with as many people as possible. Share this with somebody you feel like needs to jump today. Thank you once again, and remember, let no man steal your vision, because no man gave it to you. God bless. Now there's two different types of limits. The first type of limit is speed limits. The second type of limit is governors. I'm going to talk about how these two limits can stop you from achieving the goals that you set before yourself.